Hey guys, welcome to my final Halloween special video. Just gonna be doing a list of my top 10 favorite, top 20, sorry, my top 20 favorite horror movies of all time. I've been waiting to do this since I started the Halloween special this month. Since I've done a few. I'm just gonna be doing, these are my top 20 favorite horror movies of all time. I talked about these movies in the previous 4 videos I saw, as you guys probably saw those videos. So these are my top 20 favorite horror movies of all time. Some honorable mentions are It, Carrie, The Old Dark House, The Birds, Prometheus, and Doctor Sleep. Yes, those are all really, really good horror movies. Good, scary movies. Just they couldn't make the top 20 list. But okay, at number 20 is the first 2 Evil Dead movies. These Evil Dead movies are pretty good, actually. The first 2 are good. I haven't seen the other movies. But I've seen the first Evil Dead movie. The second one is I like the second one a little bit more than the first one. A lot of people do. I like the Evil Dead movies. I like the Sam Raimi, actually. I liked him a lot. Sam Raimi directed these, and he did a good job with these, because I haven't seen a lot of Sam Raimi's movies. I've only seen the Spider-Man movies, and then I saw the new Doctor Strange movie, and then I saw the Evil Dead movies. The Evil Dead movies were pretty good, and I haven't seen a lot of other Sam Raimi movies. I gotta watch more of his horror movies, because I like Sam Raimi. He's a pretty good director, and I'd like to see him direct a Batman movie, actually, because he's into horror a lot. He can maybe make a horror-themed Batman movie, even though the new Batman movie kind of was a little bit horror-like, but Sam Raimi should direct a Batman movie, because he did a good job with the Evil Dead movies, because they're horror, and he did a good job with the Spider-Man movies, because they're superhero movies, and he could do the same thing with Batman, but make him a superhero and horror a bit, because Sam Raimi's a great director. He did a great job with the Evil Dead movies, because both the Evil Dead movies are great. Okay, at number 19 is A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place, the first and the second one. These 2 horror movies, these are really good horror movies. I saw the new one when it came out, A Quiet Place 2. I saw that in theaters when it came out last year. I remember seeing A Quiet Place for the first time. I was literally on the edge of my seat the first time I saw it. And it's a really, really, really good movie. They're both really good movies. I like the story put into it. I know it's funny, because A Quiet Place is actually set in 2020, and it was like a metaphor of the pandemic, that since the pandemic was happening, it was literally like a metaphor of the pandemic. And I can't remember what year A Quiet Place 2 was set in, but I know the first one was 2020, and it's set 2 years after because the first one was 2018 is when it was released, and the movie was set in 2020. It literally was like a metaphor, because everything was so quiet, not a lot of people were out, and it was just like a metaphor of 2020. It's like that movie predicted the future. And I really like A Quiet Place. I like the story. I like the creature. It's like, if you make a sound, they'll hunt you, and it's a pretty interesting movie. I really like A Quiet Place. It is pretty scary. It's a good movie. And A Quiet Place 2 was good too. They were both really, really great. Okay, at number 18 is Night of the Living Dead. I saw this movie a few years ago, actually, and I remember really liking it. I remember really liking it. I like the storyline, and that movie was scary for its time. Looking at it now, it's pretty cheesy. Like that scene where the zombies are eating the humans. It looks fake now that you look at it, but for its time, it looked so realistic. Because now you could tell they're eating chicken, but for its time, it literally looked like it looked scary, but it's totally fake. But But no, Night of the Living Dead is a great movie because of what they did. It was so amazing for its time. And I really like Night of the Living Dead. It's a really good movie. It can be a little bit slow paced at times, like just at times, but like it started to pick up the pace towards the end of the movie, and it's pretty scary. It's a pretty good movie. I mean, it's not that scary anymore, but it was scary for its time. And so Night of the Living Dead, really great horror movie. It's a classic. At 17 is a Nightmare on Elm Street. I really I saw this movie. I actually just recently I talked a little bit. I talked about this movie early in the last few two video was my favorite musical scores in horror movies, and I just saw, as I said, I've seen this movie twice now, and I rewatched it with one of my friends actually, and it's a good movie. It has good story put into it. I like the pacing. It has good pacing. It is a little cheesy, but I still love Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a great movie, and it's a really, really great movie. Freddy Krueger is like one of the best slasher villains. I love Freddy Krueger. I was thinking of doing Freddy Krueger for one of my paintings. If you guys are wondering why I didn't do Freddy Krueger, he's very hard. He just seems very hard to paint. Like all that burnt skin. It's like it's hard. It would be hard to paint that. Maybe I could do it on freehand. If I ever do it, I would show you guys. I'll maybe show you guys if I ever do a drawing of Freddy Krueger. But like he looks too hard to paint, and it's just all that burnt skin. It's a little challenging. Maybe I'll do it next Halloween if I do another painting. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a really great movie. I love it has good music, as I said in the last video, as I said when I was doing my top 10 favorite musical scores in horror movies. It has great music, and it has good. I love Freddy Krueger. He's great. He's one of the best villains. I'd say he's just one of the best villains. Period. Movie villains. Period. He's okay. At number 16 is the Exorcist. I actually just I think, as I said, it's funny. I was talking about I was actually talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street in my last one. I actually watched this movie last week, actually on Saturday, with one of my friends. I watched The Exorcist and A Nightmare on Elm Street on the same night, actually, because we both love horror movies. We watch them. We watch a lot of horror movies this time of year, and I watched Nightmare on Elm Street and The Exorcist with him on the same night. Funny, because I have them right next to each other in this list, and yeah, they're both great movies, but but I love they're both great movies, but The Exorcist is pretty good. That movie has to be like the scariest movie I've ever seen. Definitely one of, if not the scariest movie I've ever seen. I mean, considering the fact that it was cursed, and it's most definitely, that's why it's one of my favorite horror movies, and it was cursed, and it was a very, very scary movie. I was a little bit nervous. I hesitated to watch this movie for years, actually, but I finally saw it, and I love the movie. I've seen it twice now. I saw it recently, actually. I've seen it twice now. I watched it twice this year, actually, this month, actually, for the first time, and I've watched it with I watched it the first time with a friend, and I watched it the second time with another friend, and it's a really good movie. I love it. I love The Exorcist, and it's really great. It's The Exorcist. In fact, it's a really great movie. And if you haven't seen The Exorcist and you get scared, I understand. But if you hesitated for years and you're like me, I'd say give it a watch. Okay, at number 15 is Get Out. I saw this movie a few years ago. I watched it with a friend a few years ago. Back in 2019, I watched it when I started the whole Halloween special thing. When I watched horror movies every Halloween, I loved Get Out. It was a really, really great movie. I liked Daniel Kaluuya. I think that's his name. I can't. Kaluuya. I can't really pronounce his name right. but as Chris Washington, I loved that the acting in this movie was really really great, and it had good story, and it was so brutal and so hard to watch at the end. It was so brutally hard to watch, and it was a really really great movie. I loved it, and it had a great story put into it, and that guy was he was really really good in that movie. He was also in Black Panther as well, and I can't really I don't know if I've seen any other of his movies, but he's a really Daniel Kaluuya, I think that's his name. Uh, I think that's his name, but he's a really really great actor. I love that guy. He's a really great actor, and he was really great in this movie. Okay, number 14 is the Innocents. I watched this movie last year for the Halloween special, for another Halloween special I did. I watched The Innocents last year, and it was a really good movie. It was very it reminded me of a darker version, like a horror version of Sound of Music, but that's gone bad. The movie was like Sound of Music, but gone bad, and it was a really good movie. It was very creepy too. It was a very creepy movie, and I really liked The Innocents. It was that haunted house, and it was a great movie. The Innocents was a great movie. Okay, at number 13 is Scream. Uh, Scream. I love Scream. Scream is so hilarious. It's not just it doesn't prove that it's not really that scary. I mean, it's a little scary, but it's actually kind of funny. Actually, it's pretty funny. Actually. Oh man, what's your favorite scary movie? I love like all the acting. Scream had literally like one of the best ways to open a horror movie, and I love Scream. It's pretty funny. Scream's a pretty funny movie, and I actually one time there was this. I remember I did the Scream. I actually made a few prank calls to some of my friends. I did the Scream prank call to some of my friends. Some of my friends didn't really fall for it. One of them did really fall for it, and then I told him it was me. It was like, oh god, I fell for that, and oh man, I love Scream. I could talk a lot about this movie because it's pretty funny, and it Scream's a pretty funny movie, and I love Ghostface. Ghostface, and the opening was pretty. He's like, "Don't hang up on me. I want to talk to you for a second." I'm like, "Okay, that's creepy," and he's like, "What's your favorite scary movie?" Scream. I could rant. I could go on about this movie forever because Scream's a great movie. It's pretty funny. And I recently watched a Scary Movie. They did a parody of the opening, and that was hilarious. Scream is not. This proves that horror movies don't always have to be super scary. Like, they can be kind of funny too. Like, Scream was pretty funny. Yeah, good old Scream. Okay, coming out at number 12 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The first one. This movie was actually, I remember watching this movie last year for the first time. It was way more hard to watch than I thought it was going to be, and there was so much more torture too than all the other horror movies I've watched. And there was a lot of torture in this movie. I like Leatherface. He's definitely one of the best horror movie villains. It's a really good movie. And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's great. I only saw it once. I watched it last year, and I remember really, really loving it. And I'd have to watch it again. One of my friends wants to see that movie, and I'll have to watch it with him. And I really loved the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a great movie. It's hard to watch, though. It's very, very hard to watch. But it's great. It's a great horror movie. And it's a great horror movie. At number 11 is the Sixth Sense. I really, this is a good one as well. This one's pretty creepy as well because this movie had great acting. Bruce Willis was great in this movie, and Haley Joel Osment. Yeah, Haley Joel Osment. Now that kid, that has to be like one of the best child acting performances of all time, and the fact that like I see dead people. It's like, God, that line is so creepy, and it's a really good movie, and it's a very creepy movie too, and it's very very creepy, but it's a very good movie, and it's very great. I love The Sixth Sense, and you can see like dead people, and it's just so creepy to think about. But The Sixth Sense is a great movie. Okay, number 10 is Frankenstein. Actually, the very very first Frankenstein movie. This is actually one of the first few horror movies. This movie was scary for its time. It was pretty scary for its time. And I really like the story put into it with Frankenstein's monster. And I like the story where it's a little bit slow paced, but it's still a really, really great movie. And it was so scary for its time. It had good pacing though. It had great pacing, and it's pretty cheesy now if you look at it, but at the time it was pretty scary for 1931. It was very, very scary for its time. I haven't seen that movie in a few years, actually. I'll have to watch it again for Halloween. Maybe this Halloween I'll watch it again. But the Frankenstein, it's a really, really great movie. I like the way they introduced the Frankenstein character, and it's really great. The oldest horror movies I've ever seen, and it's a great movie. I love it. It's Frankenstein. It's a great movie, and it was amazing for its time. Okay, number 9 is The Thing. This was actually I really liked. This is a great one too, and I'm kind of bummed out they were playing this movie in theaters. I was so busy at the time when it came out. Like, I didn't really go and see because back in 2019, I went and saw old classic movies in theaters a lot, but I didn't really go see this one, which I should have, but I was so busy. And, well, I'll go see this movie in theaters again sometime if they show it sometime. Maybe in another 10 years. Well, they definitely will for its 50th anniversary. But I was going to go see this movie in theaters. I was planning on it, but I forgot, and kind of bummed out about it. I gotta watch this movie again. I haven't seen it in a few years, but it had really good scenes, like the blood test scene, and the chest scene. This movie is it has really good visuals too, and it's a really good monster movie. Like that scene where he's like clear, and then he puts defibrillation in his chest, and that's the best scene in the movie. One of the best scenes in horror movies, as I already talked about that scene in the last video I did, and it's The Thing. It's a really, really great movie. It's a classic. The Thing is a classic. I love it. John Carpenter did a great job with this movie, and it's a great movie. I love The Thing. Yeah, number 8 is Aliens. This is actually now, the first one is I'm going to get to the first one soon. This weird because the first one is just like a sci-fi, horror movie, but this one's actually more of a sci-fi action movie, but it's still a horror movie too. But it has more action in it than the first one. I really love. This is a great. It's still like an action horror sci-fi monster movie, and I love the action scenes in it. Especially I love the line. I love the line. Get away from her, you bitch! It's just. That line is just so awesome. That has to be the best line in the Alien movies. I haven't seen all the Alien movies. I've only seen the first 2 and Prometheus. But that line though just gives me the chills. That's the best line in all the Alien movies. Okay, number 7 is Bride of Frankenstein. I like this is a great one. This is a great movie as well. I know I like the second one a little bit more than the first one, just because the first one's great, but it is a little bit slow paced, and the second one, Bride of Frankenstein, did pick up the pace a little bit, and it's another great classic horror movie. I would have to say it is definitely one of the best black and white horror movies I've seen. It's one of the great Like, it's definitely probably has to be like the best horror movies between like the 50s and like the 30s and stuff. Between this one came out in I think 1935 or 1936 or who knows, but it's a really great horror movie, and I like. It was the pacing was a little bit, it was the pacing. They picked up the pacing a little bit more in this one, and it's a great sequel. It's a really great sequel, and I love it. It's Bride of Frankenstein. It's a great horror masterpiece. Okay, at number 6 is Jaws. Jaws is a 70s, it's a horror classic. I love Jaws. It has I like the story put into it. I like it has really great score. As I've said before, the score is amazing. I already talked about that in my top 10 favorite musical scores in horror movies. Just the music is so amazing. It's like John Williams did such a great job with the score. It's such a catchy tune. It like that tune will just play in your head a lot. Like that tune always plays in my head a lot. Like when I'm swimming a lot. Like sometimes I'll go up and startle people just as a joke. Like I'll just splash out of the water. And like ba-dum 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 ba-dum. It's really great. I love the theme. It's such a catchy tune, and Jaws is just a horror. It's a classic. It's a 70s classic. It's a great maybe watch in the summer or on Halloween too, because it is a horror movie and it is also a big summer blockbuster. And like you could watch it on 4th of July, you could also watch it on Halloween. It's like both of them you could watch, and and I saw this movie in theaters almost 2 months ago, I think. Almost 2 months ago. I saw it in 3D, and the 3D looked even better in 3D. Like I'm glad I saw it. Now I'm glad I didn't miss Jaws in theaters, because I remember I missed The Thing in theaters, but I'm glad I didn't miss Jaws in theaters. And Roy Scheider is great in this movie. Roy Scheider is awesome. The acting is great, and he's like, "Smile, you son of a," and then he just shoots it. Like and then they cut it off, and it's great. Jaws is such a classic. It's like I love Jaws. It's great. Good. Okay, at number 5 is a tie between two slasher movies that came out right around the same time. They were 2 years apart from each other. And actually, it's The Shining and Halloween. These are really great movies. I couldn't choose which one is better, because I love both of these movies. They came out right 2 years apart. I think The Shining was 1980, and then Halloween was 1978. They're both really great slasher movies, and they were both late 70s, early 80s, and I love both these movies. I just couldn't choose which one is better. I'll start with Halloween. Halloween is obviously great. I talked a lot about Halloween in my videos I've made. I've talked a lot about it, so I'm not going to talk that much about it. And I like how they introduced Michael Myers, and it's really great. I love Halloween. I'll talk more about The Shining, since I haven't talked about that movie enough. I talked about it in my last video about the Here's Johnny scene. I love The Shining. The Shining is a really great one. I love The Shining. It had really good pacing. It had really good cinematography, and I loved the haunted house thing. It just really showed how much it really messed up Jack Torrance. He's so he really turned crazy at the end. And Jack Nicholson, that has to be his best performance he's done. It's so amazing. It's just The Shining is a great movie. That has to be one of the best performances in horror movies, and just one of the best performances in movies, period. He did really good acting. He was really that is his best acting performance. He did a really good job in that movie. Jack Nicholson is so great in that movie. That has to be Jack Nicholson's best performance. Okay, at number 4 is The Lighthouse. This movie, I actually just watched this movie today, actually, for the first time, so I get to talk, so, like, this is, it's, like, just in my mind now, because I just saw that movie. I just watched The Lighthouse just today, actually. Phenomenal masterpiece. I loved The Lighthouse. It had really, really great acting. Willem Dafoe stole the movie. I liked Robert Pattinson in the movie, too, and, they were both really great in the movie, but Willem Dafoe, it's just he was so awesome in the movie. He really was in character. Like he's such a great actor. I just really wish he would play the Joker because he was so great as the Green Goblin, and he was so great in The Lighthouse. Like he really was in character, and he was so amazing in The Lighthouse, and I really loved it, and it had a really good shot. The camera angles were really, really great. And it had the black and white cinematography was awesome. It's like, at the beginning, it literally felt like I was watching a movie from like the 40s or 50s. It really felt like that. And it was so amazing. It had really great black and white cinematography. And just the story was so well done. And the camera angles were so great, and that movie was weird. It was a very weird movie. It was so trippy, and it was such a trippy movie, and it was very creepy too. Willem Dafoe was so great in this movie. This has to be like his best, one of, if not his best performances. He's really, really good in this movie, and The Lighthouse was it was a damn good movie, and I just watched it today, it was so great, and I'm glad I watched it today so I can put it in this list. Okay, number 3 is Silence of the Lambs. I just watched Silence of the Lambs actually, and it was a few nights ago. It was really great as well. This is another movie I watched just recently, and I loved the movie. It was so disturbing. It was so brutal. It was such a great movie. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. It's just I can't think of anyone else to play him. He was so amazing in this movie. He was Hannibal Lecter, and he was so creepy too. And I ate his liver. I ate his liver with some baba beans, and it's so. It's so disturbing, and it's a really, really damn good movie, and it had great acting, and it was disturbing. It was very brutal, but Silence of the Lambs, definitely really, really great movie, really great psychological horror movie. I love it. Silence of the Lambs was great. Okay, number 2 is Alien. I already talked about Aliens earlier, but Alien, this is the best one. I see Aliens. I said earlier it has more action. This one's more suspenseful, and it's more horror. Like I like the horror theme put into it, and they're both kind of different. They're both kind of different. But this is my favorite Alien movie. I know some people say that Aliens is the best, which I totally get. Aliens is a great one too. But I just love Alien. It's my favorite out of all the Alien movies. I mean, I haven't really seen the other Alien movies. I've just seen the first 2 in Prometheus. I love Alien, the first one. This is Alien. It's so great. It's a really great... This is definitely... I would say it's definitely the best monster movie. It's my favorite monster movie, and it's so great. Definitely the best sci-fi horror movie. And like I already talked about that scene, the chest burster scene. That's my favorite scene in a horror movie, and I love it. It's a great movie. Alien's such a great movie. It's such a great sci-fi monster horror movie. It's so great, and it's Alien. This is Alien. It's so great. Ridley Scott did such a great job. This movie, the visuals are just so amazing. And it's great. Alien, it's a great movie. I love it. It's so great. And my number 1 favorite horror movie is, I'm sure you all know what it is. I already mentioned it in my last video I made. It's Psycho. There it is. You see it right there. And it wasn't on this list. I'm sure you all knew it was Psycho coming up. But yeah, Psycho. This movie is so awesome. This movie started off the whole horror genre. This movie shocked the entire world when it came out. It was so scary at the time. Like, this was like the scariest movie ever for its time. Looking at it now, it's really not that scary now, but for its time, this movie was scary. And it's so scary. It's not that scary anymore as it was at the time. I mean, it's such a great movie. Anthony Perkins is so great as Norman Bates, and Janet Leigh as Marion Crane in the shower scene. I already talked about that scene in my last video. And this movie was so impressive. This movie was way ahead of its time. And the way it just showed, like the shower scenes, like also that part was way ahead of its time too. That was impressive for 1960. What Alfred Hitchcock did with that scene, it was so impressive. The fact that like he literally was able to like do it so, that scene must have been like one of the hardest scenes to make, like ever, to be honest. It's like in a shower, it must have been so hard to make, and it was really, really, the shower scene is so awesome. And of course I already talked about that scene. The scariest part I think is when you find out the truth about Norman Bates' mom. It's so creepy. This movie is pretty creepy. I mean, I wouldn't say it's exactly scary, but it's creepy. It's more creepy than it is scary. But the black and white cinematography is amazing. Bernard Herrmann. That I did forget that guy's name, but I remember now. It's Bernard Herrmann, who did the score to Psycho. It's just the score to Psycho is so amazing. This is my favorite horror movie of all time, and it's just one of my favorite movies of all time, period. It's so amazing. It started off horror, and it's so amazing. It's Psycho. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, period. So yeah, those are my list of my top 20 favorite horror movies of all time. So yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, and you don't have to go up to 20. You can keep it down to 10 if you want, or you could do more than 20 if you want, but you don't have to go up to 20 if you can't do 20, if it's hard for you, but you could do 10 or 20, whatever. So yeah, let me know down in the comment section below if you agree with this. If not, give me your list of your top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. Comment below, or top 20, top 10, top 30 for the matter, maybe, whatever you want. Comment below, let me know, and if you like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like. Alright, and happy Halloween. I hope you all have a great Halloween. Alright.